change the diagnosis without examining the patient, sir?
By reading the blood toxin report.
Suddenly, in the summer of 1976, the casting offices in Hollywood buzzed with anticipation as producers set out to find the perfect ensemble for Black Sheep Squadron. Robert Conrad, already well known from the Wild Wild West, immediately drew attention. The role of Greg Pappy Boyington required someone with grit and charisma, and Conrad fit both. His audition was less about reading lines and more about presence. He strode in, gave a knowing grin, and charmed casting director Bob Winkler and series creator Stephen J. Cannell. The choice seemed obvious, and Conrad was cast almost on the spot. Meanwhile, the search for the squad's younger pilots meant sifting through dozens of hopefuls. James Whitmore Jr. brought an earnestness and believable vulnerability to his audition for Jerry Bragg. Dana Elcar, with his authoritative voice, secured the role of Colonel Lard after a few chemistry tests showed he could hold his own opposite Conrad. In the hunt for Bob Anderson, Dirk Blocker impressed everyone by blending light-heartedness with bravado, which helped him stand out among the many aspiring actors. Robert Ginty, cast as T.J. Wiley, sealed his place during a group scene that required quick improvisation. He fired off lines rapid fire, getting a genuine laugh out of Conrad, an unexpected but telling moment. This sort of spontaneous interaction made the producers confident that the chemistry could translate to the screen. Down to the last choices, each actor had to prove he could keep up with the camaraderie, and the banter, so script readings often felt more like friendly competitions. These chemistry tests, sometimes held over card games or staged ballroom arguments, let actors drop their facades and interact as a unit, finally shaping the wild, rebellious on-screen brotherhood. The casting process for Black Sheep Squadron stayed with everyone involved, as decisions turned on gut feelings, flashes of personality, and the rare sense that, just maybe, the actors had stepped right out of Boyington's famed unit of misfit pilots. Instead of aiming for a dry war story, the director, Edward J. Lasco, wanted Black Sheep Squadron to feel alive with personality and humor, which set the show apart from other military dramas of the time. Drawing inspiration from gritty adventure films and old Hollywood war movies, but blending this with the charisma of the real-life squadron leader Greg Pappy Boyington, Lasco worked to capture both the dangers and camaraderie of fighter pilots. During World War II, he encouraged his actors, especially Robert Conrad, to bring a sense of rebellious spirit to their roles, making the characters more relatable. The director often balanced intense aerial dogfights with light-hearted banter, a style he honed through careful work with his crew and editors to keep action scenes dynamic without losing character development. Collaborating closely with the technical crew, Lasco made sure the aircraft footage was as exciting as possible by using innovative camera angles and practical effects instead of relying too much on stock footage. He was known for his hands-on approach, often giving specific direction to actors and pilots alike to maintain authenticity, but not let rigid realism bog down the show's momentum. Lasco gave space for improvisation during group scenes, believing that spontaneous moments of laughter or tension made the squadron feel like a genuine band of misfits. He also paid attention to the rhythms of TV storytelling, adding cliffhangers or moments of suspense that kept viewers coming back each week. By blending dramatic tension, humor, and realistic technical details, the director shaped Black Sheep Squadron into a series that celebrated both the larger-than-life nature of its mythic hero and the very human stories of the men around him.
Well, why don't you wait until he gets back, and then get on that seat.
Back in 1976, Black Sheep Squadron hit TV screens and drew audiences into the wild world of World War II fighter pilots. The show followed Major Greg Pappy Boyington and his rowdy squadron, based on real events, as they took on dangerous missions with guts and wit. While it was packed with action scenes and heart-pounding moments, The mix of humor, brotherhood, and risk made it stand out from other war shows of the time. There are so many funny, shocking, and sad facts about what went on behind the scenes and in front of the camera, so make sure you keep watching this video for some stories you may not know about. Can you share a personal story of how this TV series has inspired or impacted your life? Maybe you remember watching it with family and picking your favorite pilot, or maybe it helped you learn about history in a way that stuck with you. Is there a particular scene or moment in this TV series that has had a lasting impact on you? For many people, seeing the squad rally around one of their own or risk everything in a dogfight made them care deeply about these characters. Even now, fans talk about the jokes they loved, the tense battles, and the times their favorite character faced trouble. What is your most cherished memory or personal experience related to Black Sheep Squadron? We would love to hear your stories and memories in the comments below.
You might as well, Major. They'll just dub in somebody else's voice if you don't.
Major.
What?
Over here, please. Major.
Meanwhile, on the set of the 1976 TV series Black Sheep Squadron, the air buzzed with the hum of engines and the clatter of tools building a convincing slice of World War II-era South Pacific. Producers chose a remote airstrip near Santa Barbara, California, transforming the rugged landscape into a believable military outpost. Art directors and construction crews worked together to age tents, wooden barracks, and weathered signs, covering everything with dust, mud, and sun-tanned netting, making sure the illusion would hold up on camera. Real World War II vintage Vought F4U Corsair planes thundered down hand-packed runways, and skilled pilots volunteered their services for dramatic, low-altitude sequences and complex choreographed dogfights. Camera teams pushed technical boundaries, mounting rugged, lightweight film cameras on planes to capture thrilling aerial footage not commonly seen on TV at the time. Loudspeakers played pre-recorded aircraft sounds to help actors coordinate movements with incoming planes, and explosions timed by expert pyrotechnic crews. Filming on location meant resting with nature's unpredictability. Crew members dealt with relentless heat, dust storms, and sudden rainfall, all while carefully protecting irreplaceable period props and costly aircraft from damage. Crew and cast often bunked together in trailers and makeshift tents to keep production rolling efficiently. Even between takes, background extras and stunt pilots would rehearse tightly timed routines, knowing one small misstep could wreck a plane or delay an expensive stunt. To save on costs and avoid risk, some aerial battle scenes relied on a blend of new footage and clever editing of old war film stock, ensuring a smooth, fast-paced narrative that thrilled audiences while keeping production within budget constraints. Although Black Sheep Squadron has found its way back into the spotlight with reruns and the recent passing of Robert Conrad, the series continues to evoke strong and mixed feelings among its longtime viewers. Some people cherish deep personal connections to the show. For example, one viewer watched it with his grandfather, who not only served during World War II but also had a passing connection with the real Boyington. These memories make the show more than just a piece of entertainment. It links families through generations and serves as a reminder of their own histories. However, for individuals with ties to the actual events or people portrayed, the series' lack of accuracy is hard to overlook. Even former members of the squadron and veterans have openly criticized the liberties the show takes with real events and people. At times, these criticisms have caused disappointment, with some expressing actual displeasure toward both the show and Boyington himself. Still, others find value in what the series offers, even if it bends the truth, because there were fewer ways to learn about history when the show originally aired. Popular series like Black Sheep Squadron played an outsized role in shaping public attitudes about the military. Many feel inspired by the stories it tells, despite knowing they're only loosely based on reality. For some viewers, The show served as an early introduction to history and even motivated life decisions, like enlisting in the armed forces. In this way, it's compared to other famous military dramas such as MASH, where entertainment often takes precedence over factual detail, yet the series manages to resonate emotionally. Many point out the broader social context in which Black Sheep Squadron was released. The late 1970s were a complicated time in America, especially for those connected to the military. In the wake of the Vietnam War, the general public's attitude toward service members was mixed and often negative. This context matters when looking back at why the show was made and how it was received. At a time when positive portrayals of the military were rare, the show stood out as a form of reassurance and celebration, giving audiences heroes to root for despite the nation's conflicted mood. On the other hand, with today's easy access to historical research and documentaries, expectations for historical accuracy are much higher. Viewers can now turn to channels dedicated to true stories and compare dramatizations with real life. Because of this, newer audiences may be more critical of the creative license taken by shows like Black Sheep Squadron. What was once received merely as light-hearted entertainment can now be scrutinized for its misrepresentation or the way it shapes public memory. However, there remains a group of steadfast fans who appreciate the show simply for its ability to entertain, finding nostalgia and comfort in its dramatic storytelling, memorable characters, and action-filled plots. Ultimately, Black Sheep Squadron's appeal and its controversy lies in the way it straddles fact and fiction, memory and imagination. While its historical inaccuracies disappoint some, others celebrate its ability to connect generations, inspire service, or simply provide escapism. Its enduring popularity shows that even imperfect retellings have a place in the hearts of viewers, especially those searching for inspiration or a reminder of their own family stories. Some will always wish it had stayed closer to the truth, while others are content to remember it for how it made them feel at the time, reminding us that the meaning of television can change with perspective and experience.
Where is the scotch?
Well, the scotch is in the truck outside.
In crafting the musical score and soundtrack of the 1976 TV series Black Sheep Squadron, the composers aimed to reflect the bravery and camaraderie of the fighter pilots while enhancing the emotional depth of the story. The music uses bold, sweeping themes to match the adventurous spirit of the pilots as they face danger in the skies during World War II. This heroic sound is balanced with softer, more introspective melodies that reveal the personal struggles and bonds among the characters. Composers and musicians involved shared that their goal was to support the narrative by creating music that felt both thrilling and heartfelt. Lieutenant, they often chose orchestral arrangements with strong brass and percussion instruments to build tension during battle scenes, while strings and woodwinds conveyed moments of reflection and sadness. The soundtrack's ability to flow between powerful and gentle tones helps viewers connect emotionally with the characters' triumphs and hardships, making the story come alive in a vivid way.
I tried to stop him, sir.
It's all right, we understand, guys.
What's this about?
It's about this. And this.
Every member of the squadron once posed for a well-known photo on the wings of a plane, all wearing St. Louis Cardinals baseball caps. This tradition came from the Cardinals, who sent the team one cap for each Japanese plane reported shot down during the war. The aviator soon earned so many caps that everyone, including the ground crew, was able to wear one. The opening theme song sets the mood with a line from Bing Crosby's version of the Whiffin' Poof song, featuring the famous phrase about poor little lambs who have lost their way. This reference helped to show the squad's outsider status and camaraderie. On the production side, Robert Conrad considered bringing Michael Landon in as a director for some episodes. However, Landon's own work kept him tied up, since he was also working with NBC at the same time on Little House on the Prairie. These details illustrate both the light-hearted traditions and the network connections central to the creative process of the show, reflecting its mix of historical references, real events, and television culture.
Distinguished visitor, we'll be making an inspection tour. We'll expect to see your squad.
Next, the roaring engines of the Corsair set the tone for one of the most unforgettable moments in Black Sheep Squadron, when Pappy Boyington leads his team into a dogfight. Director Edward L. Chan used tight close-ups on the actor's eyes, mixed with sweeping shots of the planes banking over the blue Pacific, to heighten the suspense. Robert Conrad's performance as Boyington, stoic but combustible, draws the viewer into his conflict between the responsibilities of command and the need to connect with his men. The quick banter and camaraderie among the squad, captured in the mess hall scenes, gave the show an authenticity that reflected stories told by real World War II pilots. Cinematographer Andrew J. McIntyre used dappled light and handheld camera work during ground action, pulling viewers into the chaos and exhaustion as the squadron returned from missions. Later, dramatic sequences, such as the surprise raid on Vella La Cava, are marked by sharp editing and Conrad's intense delivery, a moment he recalled as a test of endurance, saying off-camera that the pace of shooting those action scenes felt just like battle. The iconic scene where Pappy faces off with an officer questioning his methods brought out the best in Conrad's acting. According to cast member John Larroquette, the energy on set was tense during these confrontations, which translated onto the screen as real volatility. The use of practical effects for explosions and real aircraft whenever possible grounded the show, with the director insisting that the audience can feel when it's real. These sequences, especially the dust takeoff scenes, were praised for holding viewers' attention and making them feel invested in each mission's outcome. Throughout, the series used a muted palette for uniforms and set pieces, highlighting the wear and tear of war and underscoring the gravity of the pilot's experiences. These choices left viewers, not just older veterans but a new generation, with a sense of admiration and empathy for the men who lived through such events. The show's mix of humor, pathos, and vivid action, woven through tight direction and committed performances, helped the most iconic scenes of Black Sheep Squadron remain vivid decades after their original broadcast.
Think about himself. His unit always comes first.
That's very admirable.
You should get to know him. He's,
Despite a strong audience, the series faced a surprising cancellation. At the time it was taken off the air, it held a 32 share, meaning almost a third of televisions in use across the country were tuned in while it aired. This level of viewership made its cancellation unusual for the era. The show had a noticeable cast change early on. During the pilot, the character Boyle was portrayed by Jake Mitchell. In all following episodes, Larry Manetti took over the role without comment in the storyline. Another notable actor from the cast, Charles Napier, later provided the voice of Zed in the animated Men in Black the series, connecting him to the popular film series where the character was originally played by Rip Torn. Interestingly, Rip Torn and Napier had already worked together in a low-budget action movie called Hit List in 1989. These connections between cast members and their later work created lasting links to other popular television and movie projects. Although the series ended sooner than expected, its broadcast numbers and cast changes left a lasting impression among viewers who remember when it dominated American television screens.
Life last night. I know this island, you don't. Now who says I don't have a right to survive this war? You're a bloody maniac, is what you are.
Meanwhile, as television shows of the 1970s looked for ways to balance entertainment with reflections of American values, Black Sheep Squadron captured attention by dramatizing the lives of World War II fighter pilots who embodied both heroism and rebellion. The series quickly drew viewers with its mix of action, camaraderie, and flawed but likable characters, led by Robert Conrad's Greg, Pappy Boyington. Despite its war setting, the show felt less about military procedures and more about the personal struggles of individuals shaped by conflict. This focus on personality over patriotism offered audiences a break from stricter, more sanitized depictions of war seen in earlier decades. At the same time, the show symbolized a spirit of anti-establishment that matched the mood of the decade, with its maverick group often defying protocol and authority, mirroring a growing distrust of institutions following Vietnam and Watergate. Fans were drawn to the squad's sense of brotherhood, their humor, and their rough edges, making the characters more relatable than traditional war heroes. The squadron's blend of brashness and vulnerability created a pop culture archetype for lovable rogues in later TV and film. Despite its nostalgic look at World War II, Black Sheep Squadron skirted direct discussions of race and gender typical of the late 70s, but in doing so, it reflected the limits of TV's social progress at the time. Yet, its portrayal of resilience and teamwork resonated with viewers who valued loyalty and defiance in the face of authority. Its impact lingered in later shows about military or athletic teams, inspiring stories where nonconformists worked together for a greater good. Collectors and aviation buffs also commemorated the show for its vintage warplanes and dogfight sequences, deepening the era's fascination with World War II nostalgia, while the theme of flawed heroes who get the job done continued to resonate across generations.
But I am the ranking medical officer on this whole damn island.
Instead of specially designing new planes for television, the production made use of Zeros, originally built for a historical war movie earlier in the decade, adding to the sense of realism when showing aerial battles. Viewers might notice that pilots are depicted squeezing their triggers for longer than would have been possible in reality. The Corsair fighter, central to action sequences, had a limited supply of ammunition, enough for just under 30 seconds of continuous fire, with slightly different capacities between the inner and outer guns. Actual pilots were taught to use shorter bursts, aiming for 3 to 5 seconds at a time to prevent running out in the middle of combat. Meanwhile, a major challenge faced by the production was maintaining access to authentic World War II footage, which helped give the show its wartime atmosphere. When the license to this footage was lost, it became much harder to create convincing action scenes, and contributed to the series coming to an early end. The combination of practical effects, close attention to aircraft detail, and reliance on historical footage made the show stand out, even as behind-the-scenes problems began to shape its fate.
I mean the panel markers, and they...
Despite some mixed opinions among critics, Black Sheep Squadron found a loyal following when it aired in 1976. Reviewers at the time praised the show's high-energy aerial combat scenes and its unique focus on the quirky group of Marine pilots led by Robert Conrad as Major Greg Pappy Boyington. Some critics thought the show leaned more into action than accurate history, yet the charm and camaraderie of the cast, especially Conrad's rugged yet charismatic performance, won fans over. Audience reactions often reflected a nostalgic, enthusiastic love for the adventures of the squadron, with many viewers tuning in every week for the drama and humor that set the series apart from other war dramas of its era. The show's authenticity was sometimes questioned by historians, but for those seeking spirited storytelling, it offered just the right balance of comedy, action, and light-hearted mischief. In terms of recognition, Black Sheep Squadron was nominated for 2 Primetime Emmy Awards in 1977, both for its technical achievements in editing and sound, honors that highlighted the production's ability to make the experiences of World War II pilots come alive for a television audience. For the actors and crew, these accolades represented industry acknowledgement of their craft, especially considering the challenges of shooting complex flying scenes on a TV budget. For Robert Conrad and his co-stars, the show offered a career-defining moment, leading to other opportunities and continued popularity. Over time, the show became a cult favorite, fondly remembered by fans who enjoyed its sense of adventure and its focus on friendship forged under fire, balancing entertainment and drama in a way that endures, with viewers who continue to share stories about the Black Sheep years after the series ended.
Major?
Yep.
During production, most of the flight scenes were filmed over the Pacific near the coast of Southern California. The stretch of land shown during the end credits is the eastern tip of Santa Cruz Island, captured while looking southeast. Since no authentic Japanese A6M0 fighter planes were available in working condition at the time, the show used American-made AT-6 Texan training planes. These aircraft were carefully altered to resemble Japanese Zeros on screen, providing the necessary look for combat scenes while relying on available resources. In 1977, Red West joined the cast and was actively filming his role on the series when he received the news that his close friend and former employer, Elvis Presley, had passed away.
Good at spotting him, you just can't hit him, is all.
Wait a minute. You mean we're going to fly Japanese airplanes?
That's right.
Back when Black Sheep Squadron was filming in the mid-1970s, the cast and crew grew tight like a real squadron. Between takes, Robert Conrad would challenge the others to boxing matches, sometimes with the makeup crew worried about a black eye before the next shot. The planes, authentic World War II Corsairs, were as much a handful as the actors. More than once the pilots, some of whom were vintage and barely holding together, would stall during a scene, leading to frantic scrambling to keep the day's work on schedule. John Larroquette, still early in his career, remembered how the smell of engine oil and the rattle of those old planes meant you knew it was going to be a good day if everything still started. The show shot on location in Southern California, standing in for the South Pacific, and the heat would get unbearable in those leather flight jackets. So crew members kept big buckets of ice water nearby. Sometimes the actors stayed in character, even after filming, pulling pranks on each other, and the extras, with jokes that went on for days. Once the production had to calm a group of local ranchers when a low-flying Corsair scattered their cattle. Despite the rough-and-tumble vibe, there was a sense that everyone was in on something special, and years later, cast reunions were filled with laughter over missed cues, unscripted improvisations, and stories about Robert Conrad insisting on doing his own stunts, even when the network begged him to use a double. In those long days on the set, with the wind blowing through palm trees and the sun setting over the airstrip, it felt more like living inside a legend than working on a television show.
Another Pappy. You got 2 wild cards, Casey and TJ. Let's wait and see.
Many people watching the story unfold were surprised to learn that the Japanese bomber pilot nicknamed Washing Machine Charlie was not just a creation for dramatic effect. He actually flew missions over the Pacific, making his presence known in the memoir of William Manchester, who wrote about his time in the war in Goodbye, Darkness. This same pilot even found his way into other shows, such as McHale's Navy in 1962, showing that his legend reached far beyond the accounts of just one series. The show added another layer of authenticity by involving the real Gregory H. Pappy Boyington, who made an appearance as General Harrison Kenley in one episode. Boyington was also featured at the end of a season finale, participating in a newsreel clip where he received a medal, connecting real history to the story being told on screen. In one detail that many may not notice, during the opening credits, a chain-link fence can be seen in the background as the wheel chocks are pulled, a small but telling sign that not everything was filmed in the actual settings of the Second World. War taught you. Look.
25 to La Cava, with orders to pull them out of whatever nurses' quarters they're in. They'll be in Siona in 4 hours.
Although it aired for only one season in 1976, Black Sheep Squadron left a lasting impression on both television and film history by bringing a gritty and somewhat more realistic portrayal of World War II aviation to the small screen. The show captured the daring exploits of a group of misfit Marine pilots in the Pacific Theater, blending action, humor, and strong character development. Its use of authentic aircraft, impressive flight sequences, and storytelling that balanced drama with camaraderie influenced how war stories were told on TV afterward, inspiring later series and movies that sought to mix intense aerial combat with were personal stories. Moreover, it helped pave the way for future military dramas by showing that audiences craved not only heroism, but also the flawed, rebellious nature of soldiers. The character-driven approach and emphasis on the bonds between pilots set a template seen in later works exploring military life and unit cohesion. The show also gained a dedicated fan base that appreciated its unique blend of action and heart, ensuring its place as a cult classic and a reference point for filmmakers aiming to portray the complexity of wartime experiences.
Been expecting you.
Okay, Major. Suppose you tell me how you think you're gonna win this thing.
Looking back, many people remember watching Black Sheep Squadron as a kid or young adult, seeing the wild adventures of pilots in the Pacific during World War II, the daring missions, colorful characters, and unique planes left lasting images in the minds of viewers. Maybe you had a favorite episode or felt inspired by the courage and loyalty of the squadron. Some fans discovered a love for aviation, learning more about the real pilots who inspired the story, while others enjoyed the humor and drama in each weekly episode. Still, the series wasn't just about fighter planes and dogfights. It captured a sense of freedom, brotherhood, and standing up for one another in tough times. These themes might have stuck with you, helping shape how you see teamwork and leadership both on screen and in your own life. If the show changed the way you look at older war films, or if you shared it with your family, think about your favorite memories tied to Black Sheep Squadron. Share your own stories in the comments. Let others know how the series touched your life and help keep the memory of these TV adventures alive. Hit like if you enjoyed reminiscing, share this with a fellow fan, and subscribe for more journeys through television history just like this. Now that we've seen the action-packed missions and camaraderie that turned Black Sheep Squadron into a classic, it's time to step back from the cockpit and discover what became of the faces behind those legendary characters. Some soared to new heights in Hollywood, while others vanished from the limelight, living lives few fans ever glimpsed. In this next segment, we uncover surprising twists in the personal stories of the main actors and reveal where fate took them after filming wrapped. You'll hear stories of unexpected career moves, struggles, and comebacks, and lasting ties to the show that shaped their lives. Get ready for inside details you won't find in the usual cast roundups as we dive into rare footage and untold anecdotes, shedding light on how Black Sheep Squadron not only changed the TV landscape, but left a mark on everyone who brought it to life. Don't go anywhere. This bonus feature has more real-life drama and surprise endings than you'd ever imagine.
Seaman Wilfred Tucker, sir.
John Larroquette played Second Lieutenant Robert Bob Anderson with a cold, sharp energy, standing out as the conflicted intelligence officer among the wild, rowdy pilots. His performance broke through the surface bravado of the role, teasing out a sense of inner struggle and guilt as if he always had something to hide. After Black Sheep Squadron, Larroquette's life became a series of contrasts. He rose to fame again as the fast-talking, trouble-prone prosecutor Dan Fielding in Night Court, earning both Emmys and a cult following. But his off-screen journey was far darker. In the late 1970s and early 80s, he struggled with alcoholism, a battle he described as nearly fatal. He hit bottom in 1982, drinking so much that he lost count of the days. During this spiral, rumors swirled of him being fired from roles due to his drinking, and the tabloid press often circled, waiting for another public meltdown. Larroquette's sobriety began in 1982 after he survived a near-death experience in a blackout. He credited staying alive to sheer luck, and later to Alcoholics Anonymous. He was also haunted by a strange early connection to horror, narrating the opening crawl for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, reportedly paid with marijuana. He kept that memory mostly hidden for decades. Despite professional success, he mostly avoided the limelight afterward, making rare public appearances and sharing little about his private life or family. As of the most recent records, Larroquette continues to act in a handful of projects, but remains intensely private, rarely discussing his past on camera. His aura is one of survival, secrecy, and unfinished business. A man both revealed and concealed by the stories he helped tell.
You've got a lot to learn, and you need some time to learn it. I'm pulling you off command.
Larry Manetti brought a reckless yet sharp edge to Lieutenant Bob Boyle in Black Sheep Squadron, shaping the character into a troublemaker with a secret longing for respect. An energy that was hard to ignore. He locked eyes with danger both in the script and behind the scenes, and that tendency followed him after the cameras stopped rolling in 1978. Manetti's later years pulsed with ambition and turbulence. He rose to fame again as Rick on Magnum P.I., but the spotlight wasn't gentle. Rumors of on-set arguments, strained ties with co-stars, and whispered stories of backstage politics clung to his name. His public image shifted with tales of gambling rooms, debts, and a lawsuit over unpaid royalties from a failed restaurant venture in Los Angeles. A brief empire fallen to dust as quickly as it rose. His 80s success masked struggles. His marriage to actress Nancy DeCarl was tested by distance, and periods of heavy drinking under heavy tabloid scrutiny. After the peak years dimmed, Manetti offered radio hosting and small guest roles, carefully choosing appearances and avoiding the chaos of major productions. In recent years, he quietly settled in California, rarely seen in public, and kept mostly to himself, except for a short autobiography release and sporadic convention appearances. As of the last reports in 2024, Manetti remains out of the public eye, hinting at a life deliberately withdrawn, distancing himself from both fame and its shadows.
Only 4 can go. We gonna have a contest or something to decide?
No. We'll have a lot.
René Auberjonois transformed Matthew Hooper into a sharp, haunted figure, his eyes always assessing, voice low and calm, masking something darker behind the warm camaraderie. Off camera, Auberjonois was nothing like the straight-laced officer he played. In Hollywood, rumors floated about a clash with producers stemming from his refusal to smooth over the roughest edges of Hooper, insisting on vulnerability, even bitterness, to push the boundaries of what was expected for a wartime drama. After Black Sheep Squadron, Auberjonois' career took sharp turns, marked by both acclaim and turbulence. He landed memorable roles in Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Boston Legal. Yet between projects, his private life veered into stormier waters. A public scandal erupted in 1983, when leaked letters revealed a bitter feud with another actor over unpaid debts, splashing his personal quarrels across tabloids. He struggled with anxiety, once confessing in a rare interview that he feared never mastering his craft, and briefly retreated from Hollywood, disappearing from public events for 2 years. Friends reported he became obsessed with painting, spending days alone in a rented studio, emerging only after the birth of his first grandchild pulled him back. In later years, Auberjonois lived quietly outside Los Angeles, seldom granting interviews, guarded about the past but still followed, and admired by loyal fans. The last known information placed him attending a small theater opening in Pasadena, looking tired but smiling quietly in the rain.
He told me to attack, and there wasn't any time to confirm. Maybe the panel markers were there.
And Francis brought a complicated gravity to Lieutenant CNTM Dr. Gladys Hope in the 1976 TV series Black Sheep Squadron, portraying her with a cool edge and vulnerability seldom seen in female roles on military dramas of the era. The precision and self-possession she gave Hope hinted at deeper struggles beneath the uniform, a performance shaped by Francis' own complicated life. After the show ended, Anne's career slowed, marked by scattered TV guest spots, but nothing matching her earlier fame in Forbidden Planet or the cult series Honey West. The spotlight faded and public attention turned darker. Anne's private world cracked open with a bitter custody battle and a tumultuous marriage to Dr. Robert Abeloff, ending in a storm of tabloid rumors, none more publicized than her allegations about abuse and her fierce decade-long legal fight to keep custody of her daughter. In the late 1980s, Frances revealed being stalked by a deranged fan, tracing paranoia into her every move. Later, she wrote openly about surviving cancer, but she never escaped the cloud of suspicion after being briefly investigated in connection with the suspected embezzlement of funds from the Honey West fan club, a claim later dismissed, but which stained her reputation. In her final years, Anne lived quietly, rarely appearing in public, speaking about spiritual healing, and living with her daughter, Jane. The last reported sighting was in an interview shortly before her death in 2011, in which she expressed regrets and spoke of unfinished business but left details hidden behind her trademark enigmatic smile.
You did my laundry.
That's right.
Where is it?
As Colonel Thomas Lard in 1976, Dana Elcar radiated authority and simmering mistrust, playing a man worn by the machinery of war and internal politics. Lard's cold stares concealed grudges and secrets, forcing others to second-guess every command. Off-camera, Elcar's journey tangled with pain and disappointment. After Black Sheep Squadron, he faced the slow fade of prime roles, yet found new purpose in guest spots across TV. In 1991, everything changed when he revealed he was going blind from glaucoma, a cruel irony for a man whose career demanded sharp sight and presence. He pressed on, integrating his failing vision into later roles, including a return to MacGyver, embracing vulnerability. Far from any tabloid scandal, Elcar's hardship was private, his steady resolve facing deterioration and public curiosity. He became a quiet advocate for the blind, refusing pity or spectacle. Dana Elcar died in 2005 from pneumonia complications. Since then, no new revelations have emerged about his life, leaving the memory of a man who faced darkness without flinching.
Just got a call from Le Cap.
Clyde Kusatsu portrayed Captain Tenyu Araki, a character whose quiet authority and cultural duality set him apart in Black Sheep Squadron. Kusatsu's performance balanced confidence and restraint, hinting at deeper conflicts beneath the surface. After his time on the show, Kusatsu became known for taking roles that reflected the clash between identity and expectation, often pushing for accuracy and nuance in portraying Asian Americans. Away from the camera, Kusatsu faced personal setbacks, including the sudden death of his wife during the 80s, sending him into a period of isolation and rumored struggles with alcohol. There were whispers of clashes with directors over typecasting, sometimes leading to his dismissal from projects for refusing demeaning roles. Despite these issues, Kusatsu later became a powerful advocate within Hollywood's Actors Union, quietly helping other performers fight for fair treatment. His refusal to comply with Hollywood stereotypes made him both respected and overlooked. In recent years, Kusatsu's public appearances dropped off sharply, with only occasional glimpses of him at private industry events. The last confirmed information places him living quietly in Los Angeles, far from the spotlight, rarely giving interviews. As Brigadier General Thomas Moore in 1976 Black Sheep Squadron, Simon Oakland brought a forceful, conflicted presence to a world obsessed with command and reputation. Moore wasn't a cartoon villain. Beneath the cold military veneer lived a man tormented by protocol and pride. Beyond the screen, Oakland's story is laced with complexity. Son of immigrant parents in Brooklyn, he carried the weights of expectation and the scars of Depression-era struggle. After Black Sheep Squadron, he shifted to smaller TV appearances, Kojak, The Rockford Files, but never escaped typecasting. What few knew was the pain he wrestled with offstage, a turbulent marriage scarred by infidelity rumors, a gambling habit flaring up in quiet corners of Los Angeles, and whispers about hard-edged confrontations on set. In the late 1980s, Oakland's health crumbled under cancer's shadow. His last public photo, gaunt and withdrawn, appeared in 1982 at a faded Hollywood gala. No defiant exits, no curtain calls, only a legacy trusted to memory's uncertain grip.
Gonna say it again. Knock that stuff off!
Denise DuBarry slipped quietly into the role of Nurse Samantha Green, a character warm in her compassion, but haunted by the shadows of war. Her gaze held secrets, her presence on screen offered a rare blend of poise and quiet rebellion, drawing audiences into a world where comfort and chaos mingled. When the cameras turned away from the chaos of the 1976 drama, Denise pursued unpredictable roads. Hollywood's lights shone unevenly on her. After the series ended, she landed other roles but saw lead opportunities fade, signaling the industry's fickleness. Beneath the surface, personal storms brewed. Her early marriage to actor Gary Lockwood ended in a brief and public split. In business, however, she showed a surprising steeliness, co-founding Thane International and growing its infomercial empire even as Suits and Betrayal circled her. Rumors swirled of legal disputes and tense boardroom meetings, moments where trust splintered. Friends whispered of losses, betrayal by partners, brushes with financial disaster, even an attempted poisoned business deal, which nearly wrecked her fortunes. Yet Denise resurfaced, always with a cool strength that made her both admired and feared. She lost her final battle to a rare fungal infection in 2019, surrounded by questions and unfinished projects. Her legacy lingers in the odd corners of television history, equal parts ambition, talent, and the quiet ache of paths not taken.
Boyd 124026.
Why are we so modest, Captain? You are an ace. 8 kills.
Robert Conrad's portrayal of Major Greg Pappy Boyington in the 1976 series Black Sheep Squadron tapped into the brute charisma and inner demons that defined both the real-life aviator and Conrad himself. Conrad embodied the complex hero, flawed, fierce, and never far from trouble. Off-screen, Conrad's life after Black Sheep Squadron mirrored this intensity. Typecast by his tough guy image, his acting opportunities thinned in the 1980s, pushing him toward a string of guest roles and low-profile projects. His career faltered, and the shadow of personal struggle closed in. In 2003, Conrad was involved in a devastating car accident, charged with felony drunk driving, which left him partially paralyzed and ended his days as Hollywood's bruising icon. Persistent legal battles and health problems haunted his later years, yet Conrad gave nothing away. He withdrew from the spotlight, resurfacing only briefly, grim, unrepentant, and enigmatic to the last. When he died in February 2020, Conrad left behind a legacy not only of rugged heroism, but also of chaos and silence.
Exactly helping matters.
What do we have to do with it?
Charles Napier brought a rough edge to Major Red Buell, his presence commanding attention even in the shadow of larger egos. After leaving Black Sheep Squadron, Napier's life twisted through Hollywood's darker backroads. Despite high-profile roles with directors like Jonathan Demme, he struggled with typecasting, often playing hard men and villains. The industry never fully embraced him, leading to friction and bitterness behind the scenes. Napier's personal life was marked by brief marriages and public fights. In 1989, a physical altercation at a Hollywood party put his name in tabloids, exposing private pain. His relationship with alcohol spiraled, fueling nights lost to anger and isolation. Yet, he remained a fixture in supporting roles, driven by pure stubbornness, or perhaps the fear of being forgotten. In later years, health problems slowed him, but didn't stop his determined march through smaller film and television parts. The last reports put him living quietly, his on-screen bravado turned inward.
Take care, Lieutenant.
Happy landings, Colonel.
Nice to know you, Bob.
Good luck, Colonel.
Thank you.
Dirk Blocker stepped into the turbulent shoes of First Lieutenant Jerome Jerry Bragg in Black Sheep Squadron, capturing the anxious mix of fear and hope that haunted so many real pilots. Off the screen, his world was often just as volatile. As the son of legendary actor Dan Blocker, Dirk grew beneath a shadow, both protective and oppressive. After the series, Blocker's career meandered through guest roles and bit parts, never recapturing the brief spotlight of his youthful fame. He managed to sidestep the loudest Hollywood scandals, but his life never fully escaped the harsh glare. After a public falling out with a manager over unpaid royalties in the late 1980s, Blocker withdrew from the scene for several years, battling depression and rumors of substance abuse. He returned to the industry, quietly rebuilding his reputation with steadfast work in television, eventually redeeming himself in a stable role on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Dorset. There has been no notable scandal in recent years. His life now seems steady, marked by privacy and an occasional quiet public appearance.
Hi, guys. Hey, fellas, how's breakfast? Smells great, huh? Yeah. Great, fellas.
As Captain Charles W. Dobson in the 1976 series Black Sheep Squadron, Kent McCord brought a brooding seriousness to the role, setting him apart from the camaraderie and chaos around him. Dobson was a strict disciplinarian, but McCord gave the character a haunted depth, hinting at past traumas and unresolved conflicts lurking beneath his controlled exterior. After this role, McCord's life took unexpected turns. He became a familiar face in television, but his public persona often masked personal battles. Behind camera flashes and handshakes, rumors swirled about his strain with producers and castmates, and whispers of isolation began to trail him after a bitter dispute over creative direction on set. Away from the spotlight, McCord faced the devastating loss of his brother in a car crash, an event that left him withdrawn for years and shaped his somber approach to later interviews. By the 2000s, McCord had retreated from Hollywood, surfacing only for rare conventions and refusing all attempts at memoirs or tell-alls. The last known image, a grainy photo outside a diner in Oregon, shows a solitary figure, hat pulled low, walking into heavy rain.
You want him out of here, don't you? He's my father.
Black Sheep Squadron gave us a wild ride with Pappy Boyington and his misfit pilots, and behind those action-packed dogfights was a cast whose lives changed after the show. Conrad, who played Pappy, faced real injuries performing stunts, and later had a tough recovery from his 2003 car accident. Dana Elcar, remembered for his role as squadron mechanic Micklin, kept acting even after losing his eyesight to glaucoma. Dirk Blocker was just getting started, and would appear in many shows, while James Whitmore Jr. became a successful director after battling early career struggles. These stories shaped Black Sheep Squadron's legacy far beyond its 2 seasons, and kept its memory alive long after cancellation due to rising production costs. Did you watch Black Sheep Squadron as a kid? Or maybe caught reruns later? What moments or characters stuck with you or inspired you? Share your memories or stories in the comments, and let's remember how this show left a mark on us all.
Jerome! Sakinike!
There's the reader.